just as an example, like a song that he still plays, that he wrote many, many years ago, is Actual Proof, right?
Yeah.
Which he somehow, he's played that tune thousands of times, but somehow every time he plays it, it's unbelievable. It's just great.
He finds something new, yeah.
Yeah, but, even though that kind of had it has a different feeling than things on Speak Like a Child. If you play it a certain way, it's very much like Speak Like a Child. If you play it as a ballad like that, it's not it's actually very much a continuation. It's just that you might not notice it because of the speed, and I think it was maybe Paul Jackson that came up with the that might not have even been part of the original tune. I don't know.
It used to be slower also. It was part of a soundtrack to a spook.
Maybe,
yeah,
so maybe right. There was some other version where it sounds quite different,
Yeah.
And if you just isolate the changes and melody, it's very much in line with Speak Like a Child, I think.
Yes.
So that's, that seems like a break, but again, I don't feel like that was a break, returning to Train, that, there obviously were periods where he was, very specifically working on a certain thing and then chose to not do that anymore and work with a different set of variables in a way that kind of hard for me to think of other people, who did that. Going from the ton of changes, sheets of sound, giant steps, to a much more modal thing where he was still kind of playing all that stuff over the modal thing, and then eventually kind of a, not playing time at all, but also just a more simple, simple isn't the right word, but like the way he plays on Crescent, those are tunes that are in time with changes. But he definitely is not going for the same things that he would have gone for when he recorded, Giant Steps or Blue Train, which it's hard to even imagine. But that was like 7 years later. Imagine that. It's just it's kind of unbelievable when you think about it. This is the one example I can really think of where somebody really did just very consciously, follow some thing they were working on, and I think he was just so obsessive in his search that he got to that in such a short amount of time, But it's hard for me to imagine, and I that's not something I feel like I can relate to, and again, I don't see Miles and Wayne and Duke. Duke definitely evolved, changed a lot, was listening to what was going on and reacting, But again, it doesn't feel like a break. And it doesn't feel like quite as much of a, I'm going to change how I work with the materials rather than I'm just kind of hearing things a little differently now. It doesn't feel quite as like a obsessive search as as it was with Train. It's interesting, Sonny took all that time off, and he did definitely play differently, but not that differently. It's
not another person or something.
No, it's an extension.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This was maybe a little bit related. I was just thinking because because I was just rehearsing with Edgar Meyer to do this duo concert that I'm doing right after our tour, and I think he said it was an Earl Scruggs quote. The the mandolin banjo player, something to the effect of if you're lucky, each person has maybe one good tune. And if they collaborate with other people, maybe two.
Yeah. Wow.
Which I was like, yeah, I kind of get that. Like, you're lucky if you get one good tune that you kind of write over and over again, or something, or just something that's kind of yours in music,
Yeah.
I mean, there is that feeling like, yeah, we're not gonna, we are who we are. We're gonna, we can't. I mean, because as much as Coltrane changed, there is a feeling like, oh, it's the same person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe now I hear it that way, whereas when I had first gone from hearing working and steaming to expression, I was I kind of didn't realize, didn't know what the arc was. But now that I know it better, it's like, yeah, no, it's kind of the same spirit somehow,
Yeah. And when I think when we listen to somebody like Train, our perspectives change, although we keep going back to the same records. And I'm interested in what a recent perspective of yours while listening to Train was. Like, what are you paying attention to now when you listen to him?
Mm-hmm. It really depends. I mean, sometimes I'll go back and listen to him just as a saxophonist. Because he dealt with so many problems that the instrument has and found solutions, not necessarily the only solutions, but very complete solutions to, and also at different points in his career, like in a different way. Like before he was doing all the, there's a certain thing he would get, like the screaming altissimo thing, which was very unique. But before that, like the Blue Train thing is just so clean, like from the bottom of the horn to the top of the, like the saxophone doesn't easily lend itself to that. That's something you have to spend a lot of time and figure out how it works. So there are times that I'll think of him just purely on that level, like how did he execute that thing on the horn, But of course, I mean that's not, in the end, the reason that we all listen to Train. I mean, there's a maybe there's something else that I do go back to with him is this, just this extreme integrity, like a real focus and a real determination not to just find an easy answer that would get him across the finish line, but like something that really was what had that had real meaning for him, and that he was going to kind of challenge himself in a certain way. I mean, just everything about him, everything that I've ever read him, that he said, every bit of music. There's a certain there's a certain quality that I think is kind of good to think about emulating, not necessarily even as a saxophone player, like it doesn't matter. Hopefully, I can find other ways to get through things so that I don't sound just like him, but in terms of, kind of how you, just, things about envisioning yourself as an artist in a society, and especially with all the things going on today, I will sometimes find myself going back to him and going, yeah, how would he react to this? Because I have no doubt it would have been, again, with a lot of integrity and depth, and not an easy resort to anger or anything easy, but something that was real, and of course it's very hard to pinpoint what that is in terms of notes, but this is the value of his music, is that is that, I mean, obviously a lot of people hear this. I mean, A Love Supreme is, you know, one of the best selling jazz records there ever was, you know, and it's not easy music by any stretch, you know. Maybe it's, but there's an ethos to it that maybe is immediately apparent to everybody, you know, in a certain way.
Yeah, that strength and also determination and also clarity in direction.
Yeah,
is probably also something that appeals to a lot of, or speaks to a lot of people. And the cool thing is that how this music can still give us strength and hope and good feelings. Good feelings sounds so plain, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
In times like this, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, stuff has always been happening. You have to, you know, I mean, people are not appreciably different than they always were. You know, the situations that we find ourselves in, the technology, the you know, governmental systems, the whole thing that definitely does change and brings out different things in people. You know, and I think in lots of ways, you know, Renaissance Italy or, you know, Mozart's time or something, like, you know, there are these golden ages where you're like, wow, all this incredible stuff happened right at the same time. And then there's other periods where you don't feel like things move quite as quickly. Whereas you kind of have to assume that it's not like nobody brilliant was born. It's just, there's, you know, the stars align in a certain way, and you just, I don't even think that the people who are part of this, you know, golden ages would, you know, would you know, say, oh, well, I did it myself. You know, it's like you're kind of riding a wave of things, and we're all kind of wherever we are in this particular space and time, and you just do the best you can with what you're exposed to and what you feel like you have to give, you know?
Yeah. I think there was a line in The Office, The Office, where somebody says, I'd love, I wish we could say what the golden times were. I think I'm butchering it right now, but it's about, like, you usually know when the golden times were after the fact, but it would be nice to know it in the moment.
During the moment, right. Yeah. Or I mean, who knows? Maybe that's not true. Maybe like Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel going, oh man, everything's working now. Like, you know. Yeah,
it could be,
like,
this is going to be a banger. This one.
Yeah, right. I'm so lucky I wasn't born 200 years later, because this is the shit.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. Who knows?
Greetings. My name is Sam Amadon, and you are experiencing the Pablo Held Investigates podcast. And I am experiencing the Pablo Held Investigates podcast, as I do every week. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to go so deep with Pablo and the musicians he talks to. I go back and forth between the conversation, and I'll pause and go to listen to the musical examples, and then I'll return to the conversation. It's profoundly beautiful and enriching. And if you connect with this podcast as much as I do, I highly recommend that you support Pablo on Patreon, because it keeps the podcast going and it provides a whole backdrop to a whole other dimension of the investigation. There's two tiers. There's a general listening podcast supporting tier, which has background materials and other stuff around reflections on Pablo's listening. And then there is a more of a practicing instrument lesson type tier, which is even deeper and more specific. I hope you support it and check it out, because these are the kinds of things that keep the world turning at this time in our universe. See you out there in the investigation zone with Pablo.
When you wrote Lift, it was one of my favorite pieces of yours, and I transcribed it and sent you the sheet, and was like, my question is, did you think of the lift first, the effect of the lift,
or did I write the basic tune?
Yeah, and then felt like, oh, maybe we could switch gears for each solo by using, those triplets.
That's a good question. It was written long enough ago that I don't quite remember. Yeah, because it uses like this this kind of interlude part. To get from one tempo to the other. I think I probably wrote the tune and just had that interlude staying in the same tempo, and then realized that would be a way to change tempos afterwards, I think. Mm-hmm. Because it kind of goes like from the triplet. It's like the triplet turns into a new quarter note, basically. Yeah. In a way that I could never figure out how to write down. I forget how you did it.
I was wondering
but it's an odd way. It's really an odd thing because it's like it's just a kind of a normal tune, first ending, second ending tune, kind of modern jazz harmony. But the way that the interlude works is like dum da da dum da da dum ba da 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 da. So I just heard that it's two triplets and then it goes back. Yeah. And I was like, well, what time signature would you call that? Because it's really like, it's a bar of 4 plus 2 quarter note triplets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't really know how to write that.
I think I did 12/8.
Yeah, maybe that gets you close. Well, right. Because if you think of I mean, if you write the triplet as the eighth, then it works. Yeah, and but that doesn't really work with the rest of the tune, because most of the tune is just clearly in 4 and not in 12/8.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So
I did the thing where I said like quarter note equals dotted quarter note.
Right, exactly. And then yeah. Well, see, there you go. There's an elegant solution that I didn't think of.
I had to do this then to get back to the that's how I did it.
Yeah. I find a lot of my music is like there's this, it's like it sounds complicated when I try and explain the form, and then it doesn't seem that hard once you like, oh, it's just that. I mean to me it's pretty intuitive to get that.
For me as a listener it's the same, because a lot of your songs are odd meters or have odd meter elements to them, and for some pieces it took me decades to realize, oh, this is not in 4, or the way you guys play it also. And that's something that I'm really interested in. How do you get to that point? I mean, we talked about this before, but how you get to that point where it doesn't feel like, oh, something is missing or it's a hiccup, but no, it's so natural, it's so fluid that it feels like the new 4, the new 4/4.
Well, I think it's partly because it's not like I'm. Yeah, how to say this? It's like I'm trying to write. If I'm writing odd meter music, it's because that's how I'm. It's just really that's what I'm hearing, and it's not that I'm trying to, take something normal and then make it harder or something, or that I'm not trying to write, something odd. It's just that really is how I'm hearing it. So that which means that I'm probably hearing it as a groove, because that's kind of how I hear things anyway. I mean, so much of everything for me kind of comes from groove. Comes from the rhythm, and then you can find notes that'll fit it later. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, it might be the rhythm and then maybe the shape of the melody, Mm-hmm. But there's some kind of feeling that it has to be an organic whole, or it's not, or it's not finished yet, too. Mm-hmm. Like there are tunes that I've written and I feel like there's little awkward moments in them, And and usually what that means is that I haven't thought it through enough to get to where it's not awkward anymore. It might still be an odd meter, but where it's absolutely the most, flowing way to get through that meter, if that makes sense.
No.
But it sometimes takes some time. Like, I mean, I again don't really remember lift how it first came about, but I think the idea of the tempo change grew out of the original idea. I think I had the idea of the odd meter figure, which didn't feel odd to me, just felt interesting. That da-da-dum, da-da-dum, ba-da-dum, da-dum, da-da-dum. That's what led me to the thing where it speeds up.
Yeah.
Where the triplet turns into the new quarter note, and then that, and then like after you do it, like you do it twice, right? So like, I should review. I've been reviewing your tunes. I should review my own tunes a little more too. But it starts like with a bass solo in the original tempo, right?
Yeah.
And then it speeds up once for the piano solo, and then it speeds up again for the tenor solo. So at that point, I think it should roughly be double time, because you've speeded it up twice, or at least close enough to the vicinity that then when you go back to it, you just start playing it in halftime, and it's back to the original tempo. You know? Which again was like, oh, this is elegant. Okay, great. That'll work. I mean, maybe mathematically it doesn't. The numbers might not quite add up. I don't. That's actually, I mean, we can get out our slide rules when we're on the train and figure that out.
Let's do that. And what I also love about the tune, which is something that is also so often the case with your songs, which a lot of them have a killing A section and then a killing B section, which kind of opens a whole nother chapter, which feels natural when you arrive there, but also very surprising, and like I could have never expected this.
Well,
and I love that.
Nice to hear.
That mixture of feelings. Like it doesn't feel odd to be there, but it is surprising and unexpected. It's such an art form to write a good bridge as well, or a good B section.
Well, thanks. I mean, it's hard to write a good tune, and I'm using the word tune like the art of writing a great pop song. That's huge, along with the lyrics and everything. I mean, it's really, and it's the kind of thing, you can only analyze it so far. I mean, this is one thing. I mean, you can kind of make generalizations about melodically what can work, or and stuff, but there's an irreducible thing, I think, to all the the most memorable music, that's like just knowing where it should go, or just being lucky enough to be the one that finds it, but the search definitely helps. I mean I find in the process of writing, and this is something that I've, talked about with students a fair amount, but like that the initial impulse for a tune is often very, very fast, like as fast as you can improvise, like, oh, well, that's it, and that's the raw material. And if you're very, very, very lucky, then maybe that's it, But 97 times out of 100, and it's important to do it 100 times or more, is it's the editing process that really gets you there. It's like taking whatever the original impulse is and turning it around in your head like trying to think of every possible way it might go. And also, again, what's a contrasting section going to be? What is if there's a B section, what does that need to have in it to be related in some way, but take it in a, this is where the craft of composition comes in, but it's also, there's an aspect of it for me, and I don't know if this is how I end up with whatever effect these tunes have, but I often find that that I need to give myself some time. It's funny because I improvise for a living. It's like I make up stuff on the spot and that's it. But a lot of times I'll work on a tune and I'll get to a certain point and I'll go, okay, yeah, I think that's cool. And then I kind of have to leave it. If I'm lucky when I wake up the next morning or maybe the next week, also depending if I have time. Like, that's when I look at it and go, oh, why didn't I see that? Oh, I need to go there. But for some reason I can't see it at the time. Like it's often very difficult for me to just work 8 hours straight and it's done. Like, I have to work 8 hours straight and then sleep on it and then come back to it. And then I will see the implications of something in a way that I didn't see before. And, presumably, I guess my mind is turning it over. I definitely have that feeling, that thing happen to me, which can be quite unpleasant, actually, where if I'm in writing mode, sometimes I'll just wake up in the middle of the night and it's just all going. And I'm like, I really needed some sleep here, but I think I am getting somewhere, but it's not the most efficient, well-ordered process. It's kind of it's a mess. So that's what the experience of writing is for me. Maybe that has something to do with the end result. I don't know.
And how do you capture the ideas? Is it writing down quickly, or do you also play it on the piano and then record it quickly on your phone, or what
usually one of those two. Where I'll just write it. If I have manuscript paper, I'll just write the idea, or I'll just I'll play it into my phone. Does that exact thing, just to get it fast. Just to get it down before it's gone. Sometimes I'll go, oh, I kind of need a section here. Let me improvise something. Yeah. And then I just record myself improvising and work with that material. You ever do that?
Yeah, I do that, and also I record the ideas pretty quickly. But lately, because oftentimes I get ideas when I'm about to leave, or where I have to leave. Right. I should go now, but shit, let me stick with this idea and then let me record it, and then I record it, and then I leave and I run and I listen to the recording. It can be good, but it also sometimes then I like it. And then I listen to it again and again and again, and somehow it cements it a little bit. You know what I mean? So sometimes that
you can start getting attached. Yeah, that kind of gets me to something that I feel like I've gotten a little better at over the years, falling in love with a certain phrase, and that is the feeling. It's like this falling in love thing.
Yeah, totally.
Which I've grown to be very suspicious of. But it took me a long time to figure that out. Like, oftentimes I feel like my best work, I don't have that feeling of, like, if I'm falling in love with it, then maybe there's really something weak about it that somehow I'm getting attached to. I don't know what this says about me psychologically. This is like something, right? Like, psychotherapists talk about that if they have feelings that they're falling in love with their patient, they know there's something wrong with the way that the thing is going. Like, it's it's a sign of some disconnect, some problem in there. That's kind of how I realized I could be with writing tunes, is that if I have that kind of feeling, maybe that's not it,
Yeah.
The tunes that I end up really liking, I don't necessarily have that, feeling like I'm in love with them, but I feel like, oh, this is built as solidly as it can be built.
Yeah.
Which is it's a different feeling. Maybe it's not the rush of emotion in a certain way, but it's like this is a house that's, rain and wind and whatever. Like it's going to stand somehow.
Yeah.
That it's just built like that.
Yeah, and it's also a nice quality can also be if it's something that, in a way, also an amateur could play, and it would sound good, like a
and
like a
not
Beatles
totally
tune.
mess it up. Yeah, right.
There's something to that. Anybody can play them,
Right.
and of course we have heard so many bad covers and stuff. But anybody
Right,
could play
right.
them, and we would recognize them as what they are, and also recognize the great things about it.
Yeah. Well, that's there are certain tunes that maybe do pose some technical challenges that might
Sure.
might be hard for that. I mean, like it can be kind of well built or badly built with different levels of complexity, I think.
Yeah.
But that is actually a factor even for myself. Like if it's easy for me to, if it feels like I can deliver it, then it's well written.
Mhm.
Some tunes that like, no, this is really how I want it to go, but man, there's nowhere to breathe and it feels really awkward to play. Then change it. Then just change it. I mean, there's maybe that's kind of related to the not falling in love thing, but it's like if you're not attached to how it's supposed to go, then you maybe will have an easier time seeing different ways that it might go.
Mm-hmm.
That might be better.
Yeah, and especially in the music that we play, we kind of also need something that can be looked at in different contexts or with different approaches according to each night and instrument and acoustic and whatever.
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm always looking for is like, a tune that'll be fun the first time you play it, but then also the 50th time you play it, it'll still be fun. Like there's something about standards that are like this.
Oh yeah.
It's like the perfect level of complexity and simplicity and, information and, things that are predictable and things that are not predictable. Like how do you write something that's that fun to play that many times? That's really, and that there's, again, a lot of pathways through, which, maybe not every tune has to have that. Like maybe there is a certain tune, it's more set and it's just like, no, this is this thing. And it's a compositional thing.
And it has to be played by certain people also. But with standards and the great ones, there's a lot of people can find their thing in it and still play the song, but find themselves in it.
It's kind of amazing, right? It was a certain time in these kind of Broadway show tunes that it wasn't like they were written for the purpose of people being able to improvise over them, but they worked so well that way. It's just
Mm-hmm.
Again, the golden era. If only we had known at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Cole Porter, we can't help it. We have to improvise another melody on top of your great melody.
Right. It's not that your melody's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's just that
we
maybe
can't
there
do
are other
anything
ones.
about it. Yeah. I remember that gig that you did with Craig Taborn at Stadtgarten. Was a beautiful duo concert, and after the show I asked you, what was that song with the triad inversions? And then you told me that's Atoms, and I realized That's a song that I've played with you.
that you've
years
played.
before.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
now that I got the new revised sheet,
Well, that is but that wasn't even done. No, because that was new. Because we just played that at the Vanguard, and I just added the chords to it, and kind of was like, oh,
Right,
now it's like a Strayhorn tune,
Yeah.
But it still has the melody if you want to disregard the chords.
But there's another part now in it, which I don't know.
Well, there's the part in 9 or something at the end. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Another great B part.
I mean, it's an extension of the last 2 bars of the tune. Do-dee-da, 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 do-dee-da. And then that, like, because it was always just, free, and it
Right.
it still can be. And then it can go into time at the end, is the idea. Yeah, because I mean, I guess you haven't heard a recording of it anytime recently, because the only time we've done it is at the Vanguard, which no one's wouldn't be available. So
and
unless
we
somebody
played
who
this
sat there
in
and made a bootleg.
2016, I think.
Yeah,
In 2016, and by that point it was just melody and free, as you said.
Yeah. I mean,
but somehow also the way you guys played it at the Stadtgarten, I couldn't recognize it, and it was beautiful because there was something about it. Was like, what is it? What is this piece? It attracted me.
I think we might have had the end part by then. I think that came first. There's like that. It goes into a 9 groove at the end. I think we were probably playing over that.
Yeah.
Do-do-do, do-do-do.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah,
Beautiful.
which are the triad inversions exactly.
I was wondering about the melody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I love that sound on it. That's like
It's cool, huh?
Yeah.
So I was wondering about, because I can hear like the specific maybe shells that you were dealing with. I was thinking about, is there a grander concept behind those triads or relationship? Because it sounds like there's a relationship that I'm right now, although I have played it before, can't really put together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, super grand. Yeah. No. There's a.
What is it?
Yeah, but I'm not free to divulge the secret. No, I'm actually totally kidding. No, there isn't anything. It's just kind of how I heard it. I mean,
right.
It's built on those cells. Da da da. That's what it's built on.
Right.
And
it's pretty big.
And it's grand, right? And it's pretty chromatic, obviously. But the whole point of it is really just the melodic shapes.
Yeah.
Now it feels like it ends because it does end on what feels like a root, right? It's kind of out of, it's not really quite tonal, or it's hard, there's different ways you could look at it. But then it ends with this F minor triad, C, A flat, F. So which just feels like an ending, I mean, to me, that kind of felt a little bit like a Paul Motion tune. Paul would write tunes like that. And I saw him play the piano and knew how he thought of it. Like, he knew some theory, he knew some harmony, but it was really just going by ear.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I was trying to do here too. Like, just, that the important thing at the beginning was just the shapes. Da 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 da. Like, I'm not really making any effort to sing the exact pitches, but it's you can see it as well as hear it. Da 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 you know. And then you find notes that'll work with that. That's a little bit related. I mean, this is out of time, but it's very related to that idea that I was kind of saying earlier. I think, which is that I think of things from the rhythmic, melodic standpoint, oftentimes before anything else. You know what I mean? So even though this is not really in time, it's kind of from the rhythm in terms of that it's right, but it's not just rhythm; it's also the shape of the melody,
right?
Maybe more so than the specific notes. If that makes sense. I mean, it's a little bit like scat singing and not really worrying about the pitches, which is something that I've found to be a very useful thing in trying to, figure out some stuff I want to do as a language, Like, I'm not really making any effort to show exactly what the pitches are, but the pitches do matter because it's higher and lower is giving a different shade to the rhythm, right? So then you find the notes that are going to work with that later.
Yeah,
which is kind of the language that was working with that particular piece.
I was just talking to, 2 months ago on the podcast also to Pete Randy. And he was talking about the same thing. He called it whispering. So he was like, da 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 da.
Interesting.
Also with high and low.
That sounds like Miles trying to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what I really find very interesting is like you look at a piece that was already great and you make it greater but in a different direction. Like you find something new in it, and that's something that is sometimes hard with pieces that seem finished or like, and where also you've already put a lot of work into, where you're like, okay, that's it, that's the, as you said before, that's the house that whatever weather can, and then you look at it. And we both love Wayne. Wayne was so great at that, And I see this in this piece as well. When I played then the changes with the melody, I was like, oh yeah, how come we didn't find those when we played? Because it makes so much sense.
I wasn't really thinking them. Yeah, I think what happened was I was thinking about playing that tune after not having played it for a long time. And I just started looking at it on the piano and went, oh, actually, what if it's like this? And I liked it enough that I thought, yeah, let me add that in. Also, with the idea that, like, you can use them or not. Like, the melody hasn't changed, but that could be like a whole thing for another, like, the way we used to play that tune was just the melody and then it's free. Right. I think when we were playing it at the Vanguard, like I would play over the form, and maybe someone else would play free. And it never really goes into and we might have even gone into time, like to play that in time, which we never did. Da, da,
like the first
da,
part also.
Da, 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 to kind of keep it clear where the chords are going to change. Which is kind of hard to play on, but I enjoyed it, as kind of a challenge. But again, it just kind of gives another way to play through the tune. And yeah, Wayne definitely is, is an influence. Just how like he'd keep working on some of these tunes that he had written 30 years before that he found some new thing to put on it, which again, there wasn't anything that felt like it was missing from the first one, but it just seems even richer,
Yeah. Like Orbits.
That's a good example.
You were on that recording as well on Alegria.
Am I on I don't remember which tunes I remember there was the bass clarinet one, was that Angola? I can't even remember. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
might have been on Orbits too. There were a few things where there was like horn parts written, and we had to kind of. I mean, the thing I remember is that I think it was all scored out for like a big group, and then maybe there just wasn't the money to get the group there, so there was like just trying to figure out how to use some of the parts to get that effect without it was I mean Wayne was not there at that session. It was with Bob Sadin, who produced the record, who I don't know if you ever met him or know anything about him, but brilliant guy, and kind of a real character. Like what kind of would get really, really excited about things, and both good and bad, like really angry or really happy, I remember. But but he was kind of trying to take, I think, Wayne's scores and figure out, okay, so on this pass can you play these notes, and then on this next, like we might have been reading from the score. I don't even remember how that worked.
So you never saw Wayne at that studio session for
Wayne?
Alegria?
No, Wayne was not there. He might have called Wayne at some point. I don't even remember. Maybe Wayne was on the phone at some point. Yeah, but I think
Can
Wayne
you
was
imagine-
back in L.A. and we were in New York.
Yeah. Can you imagine doing an album and you're not even there? Or
No,
or your own-
no,
You just-
that I
you
mean,
do it.
that is right. I hadn't thought about it on that, but yeah, that is a certain level of trust. I mean, it was because it was that. I mean, it was all Wayne's notes,
Yeah.
but
It's in the
but it
music,
wasn't.
yeah.
But it wasn't. It was. Not all of them were necessarily played. I honestly don't remember how we did it. I mean, I seem to recall that. I don't remember the trombone player, but I think it was me and Jeremy Pelt and a trombone player were there.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow Bob Sadin had printouts of some stuff like, hey, okay, so you do this. And then we might do a few passes so that we would have played the whole chords the way Wayne wrote them.
Wow.
But it was pretty chaotic, as I recall. And like, maybe that was just because of how Bob did everything. I mean, but he might have had it all in his head where it, really was like it felt chaotic to me, but he knew what he was doing. I don't know. I mean, it sounded good when I heard it. So
Oh yeah.
and it was and it was definitely a trip to like most of Wayne's playing was already on there, and there were things where I had to match his phrasing, which was kind of wild.
What did that feel like?
Well, it's something that I'd been practicing doing at home for years, but not where I had to actually, play it with him. I remember there were things where like, wow, that's surprising. Like, maybe some note was a little ahead of where I might have phrased it, and another note might have been a little bit behind, but it sounded like Wayne, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one time that I got to play with Wayne, which, just for like a tune or two. And that was, I mean, of course, very special to just be and we were sharing the mic. So he was like,
Ooh.
2 feet away from me. And I kind of remember having the feeling that like, he something about everything he did, it felt like there was this kind of mystery to it, and there was this kind of I'm not sure how to say it, but I'm sure everybody who knows Wayne's music would know what I'm talking about. There's this kind of, so I kind of felt a little surprised that when I was standing next to him, I felt like, oh man, he's playing with full force. Like he's not holding back. He's not like, doing any sly, cute little thing. He's like he's playing at full, not necessarily volume, but something about his standing next to him was like, oh, he's not holding back at all.
Yeah.
Like ever, and which kind of made me hear him in a different way after that. And also, I mean, just the message, like whenever, there'd be a situation where there was some situation where I was out with Danilo and, he left everyone a message and he said, go out there and kick some ass. Like he was always like, man, go do it. Like that, pretty consistently. That was his message. Like, hey, it's rough out here. Don't halfway do anything. Kick their ass. It's like, because his music has this air of mystery to it. And that's who he was. But it wasn't like he was, there was nothing pretentious or anything about it. It was fully committed.
In these moments, I somehow always hear Art Blakey and Wayne with Art Blakey.
Right.
Like what you're describing,
that sounds like what Blakey would have said too. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And also, these are the moments when it might get as out as it can get with the quartet, or sometimes with Weather Report, and then he'll be like so on it, like in time, or that I can always hear Art Blakey in the Jazz Messengers somehow, that he had to go through that school, and then it was always with him, that sense of urgency, and energy,
which is a big thing that makes it work. Like you can get away with stuff if you're like, at the crucial moment, you're like,
you're there,
yeah.
So, there was one thing that I asked you. I asked you for, could we play Gratitude?
Right. Yeah. Which is really, it's like a through composed thing. I was looking at it. I was like, I don't really hear anything to open up on it.
If I may, I actually had an idea.
Okay.
I actually had an idea. So this is one part where it goes. First of all, I love that song so much. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thanks. It's funny that you brought it up, because I really just didn't remember how it went at all. I really
That's actually what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I had no memory of it.
How did it feel when you listened to it? Like what does it feel like?
Honestly, I had that feeling like, oh, that was good. Yeah, okay, good. I did good. Whoever I was back then, okay. I did something. Yeah, that was, I like that one.
Really sweet. At first, I also thought, maybe we could just play it as is. But then I started looping that section. The
bridge section. Yeah.
So, and somehow the changes, like A minor. Somehow, when I looped it, I really enjoyed playing over that.
Okay.
So I don't know. It could be something where we play it once through and then
go back to the bridge and
then go there and just play together or
just have it be over for a second and then eventually take it out.
Exactly.
I still don't remember. Like, you just played a series of changes that I thought, oh, those sound nice, but I don't really remember what I wrote.
It's also cool with the bass line.
Right, like that's the spot where the bass line, like the bass is the melody. Like I'm doubling it an octave above.
Yeah, but not also only doubling. Sometimes you're playing the other inversion of the triad, where like the bass goes
where it's it's harmony,
and you're playing like and how that
Yeah,
goes
yeah, yeah.
together with the
Yeah.
different registers is just I thought it was very beautiful.
Thanks.
And when it's together and when not, great piece. And also so cool to see your handwriting and how you wrote things down and how you thought of it.
See, now everything is. I mean, there are no versions of a lot of these, of any of these more modern, more recent tunes of mine like that, because it's often kind of sketched out by hand, but it's so messy that no one could possibly read it. Sometimes myself, So when I'm really working on putting it into a form to be able to play, it's all in Sibelius. It's all like, which you lose something. I mean, you gain something else, but you definitely do lose the. Yeah, I mean, it's so special seeing what people's handwriting looked like,
Mm-hmm.
From
we talked about that before. Yeah,
from back
Strayhorn.
then. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Also, just that these are such huge figures for us, so that it's like, wow, this is like the paper that he did this with his hand, like it was going from the brain to the hand, and
exactly.
Feels more direct.
Yeah.
But
and
then
the visitor.
Oh yeah.
Do you have recollections of writing this?
Yeah. That I well, for one thing, I guess last year at the WDR, that's one of the tunes that Mike Holliber wrote an arrangement of. So I've played that more recently. But also, I mean, that was based around because it was written for Lester Young, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about, I think there's video of this of Sonny Rollins talking about Lester Young, where he says, "Yeah, so when we first heard Lester, it's like he was a visitor from another planet." So that's why it's the visitor, right?
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
And the phrase it starts with is da ba da ba da da, right? That was a phrase that he would often use at the end of an A section, like on rhythm changes, right?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the phrase from the tune. So it starts with that phrase.
Yeah.
And that's what it's written around. So that I remember because it's Lester Young, So then I turned that into a tune.
Yeah. That's something that's probably my favorite album of yours, Gratitude. And there's so many things that I love about this album, but the way it was really like in many ways it was kind of a role model for me in terms of how you pay your respects to the people that that influenced you, not by repeating what they did or showing like a copy of that, but showing your view on that subject and what it means to you and what you do with it, without being like, I'm going to reinvent the wheel, but like that tune especially, like you take that one phrase. I mean, there's things like that all over the record, where you take something very specific and then put it through your, I don't know, perspective, and then it creates something new. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I kind of remember, and sort of going back and looking at what I had written is, I realized, oh yeah, I spent a lot of time on each of the tunes. Like I was really, and I hadn't, it was like big chance to do a record on Verve, and I had, and so I was like, yeah, let me, so I obviously put a lot of time, into writing the tunes, and when I listened to some of it again, as I'm saying, like after not having heard it for, 20, 25 years, I was like, oh yeah, it's nice. I mean, the way that it came out, to be honest, I mean, it was a certain time in the music business, and a situation that I was in where, I mean, I was very happy that Verve wanted to do something. But, you know, this was the era of the, you know, Joe Henderson had put out Lush Life. I mean, they wanted a tribute album, really, or they wanted something that they could sell in that way.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to play original music, you know, something that I had done. And so it was I mean, it wasn't a compromise because it was something that I felt 1,000% behind, but I thought, okay, well then you can sell it like this. I'm writing tunes for my heroes.
Yeah.
So that I got a chance to put out the music I really wanted. And, you know, I mean, that was something that I could 1,000% get behind, you know, saying thank you to Sonny and Train and Johnny Hodges and everybody, you know, like, yeah, these are my heroes. So, but it was a solution to a certain problem posed by the music business that I might not have ended up there except for that situation. But you know, again, I mean, even now when I revisit it, I went, oh yeah, okay, that was a good way to deal with that situation. Yeah. Now, you know, I don't think it sold that well, so I didn't really do that much more for Verve, but I'm happy with what it sounds like. So, which is, you know, 25, 30 years later, that's a lot better than going, oh, it sold great and I hate it.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering, did you write more pieces that didn't end up on the record? Because yesterday I listened to this album, This Will Be, where you got that Jazzpar prize.
Oh, and
there's one tune dedicated to Johnny Hodges and Duke Ellington, which I loved.
That's not on there, right? I don't know. That might have been a separate thing. That might not have had anything like that. Might have. It was around the same time, but
that's why
I just
asking,
don't. Yeah, I don't remember that was the case. But maybe there was stuff I threw away. Yeah, I just don't recall.
On that other album, This Will Be, there's also incredible chorale that opens up the suite after the two pieces that open up the record in quartet, and then like it's a bigger ensemble, and there's a chorale that you've written. Do you remember that?
No. No, I actually don't. I don't. I kind of remember that I wrote that, and I remember like I wrote a few pieces. I think it was trumpet, bass, clarinet, guitar, along with the quartet of piano, bass, and drums. And some
flute. Maybe you did the flute at some point, or somebody else also did.
Yeah. Right. I don't. Yeah, maybe it was like woodwind doubles, and then. Yeah, I don't exactly remember that, but yeah.
I'm interested in that time also because I have a lot of bootlegs also from you from that time, and then we have the records where there seems to be a quartet with Scott Colley and Kevin Hayes and Bill Stewart, but then sometimes other people come in. So I'm wondering like what the band was and how you think about that time of that era.
Well, like the Gratitude record is with Brian Blade and Kevin and Scott, and we did at least a tour or two as that particular quartet, you know. But that just, you know, that wasn't feasible. Brian was doing too much stuff. So then it really, after that, the main group is the group on Lift, and also Traveling Mercies is basically that group too, like Scott Colley, Kevin Hayes, and Bill Stewart, right? And then Schofield's on a few tunes. So that was really the touring band for a while, and it was a nice period when you could, you know, it seemed like it was a lot easier to not, you know, necessarily have a band working like 50 weeks out of the year, but there was some work, and we had a chance to have some continuity and and get to some stuff. Yeah, it was a good time.
But I love all of those iterations, like with Brian and with Bill Stewart, and then yesterday when I revisited that This Will Be album, I was like, Billy Drummond.
That's with
so
Billy
cool.
Drummond. That's right. That was with Billy Drummond. Right. Yeah, I was working with him a lot around that time. Yeah. It's fun. I mean, it's funny too. It's like all these relations. Like these are still people that I see and sometimes play with, and it's it's kind of wild to think at this point how long we've known each other, and I've seen everybody have families and grow up and all that stuff, and musically too, but it's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling about this thing that we do, is there is this community aspect to it, and this admiration that doesn't go away,
Yeah. We were talking before about train and what to pay attention, what you're paying attention to more recently. And actually, I wanted to ask you that question about Charlie Parker, because I think he's also one of your biggest heroes and an influence that I also can hear very clearly.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, what are you, when you listen to him now, what you're paying attention to now?
I mean, it's just timeless, beautiful music for one thing, again, as a saxophone player, as a musician actually playing, I mean, his eighth notes, which is not, it's not something you can separate from the note choices themselves, but the way he phrased everything as well, and it, like how fully integrated everything was, how. I mean, he's actually one that I've always wondered if he passed away at 34. I mean, that's insane. But where could he have gone? I mean, it was perfect. It was perfect. There's nothing. I mean, it's similarities to Bach in a certain way. Like, it's just like the rhythm and the way everything is harmonically placed, the way it melodically works. I don't see how he could have improved on it. I mean, maybe it, it could have changed, but
the context
so
could have
perfect.
changed.
Well, the context would have, right? I mean, imagine if it wasn't that many years later that, all kinds of changes had happened, but would he have, how would he have reacted to that? Because his whole approach worked so well, in that particular thing. But anyway, I mean, that's if nothing else, just the rhythmic flow, that's a huge one as a musician. As on the other, like more kind of emotional, spiritual side, like I was talking about, Train. Like there's a feeling that I, that like when I listen to Train, I'm part of what I want to hear is that deep commitment, integrity, some calmness, even when it's totally going nuts. There's some kind of centered thing. Bird had a very different thing. I mean, for one thing, he was so young, and he hadn't, he kind of just was so young. But there's a joy there. I mean, such joy. That's the big thing I get from him too. Is like, hey, why are we making this difficult? Life is hard enough. There's lots of things that are difficult. This, music thing is a place for joy.
Yeah.
Because it. I mean, it just that's like the biggest thing that I kind of get from it. I mean, when I first heard Charlie Parker, like when I was a kid, you know, I just didn't get it when I first heard it. I think, you know, I just, you know, I wasn't quite ready until I heard there was a record that I got, you know, like just happened to get this used record of which was a bunch of Jazz at the Philharmonic stuff, including him with strings at Carnegie Hall, like the live stuff,
Right.
which is now, you know, you can find out. It's only like 4 or 5 tunes. But when I heard that, that's when I got it. Because there was something about how he phrased all those melodies, and you could feel him like he really is singing about, you know, April in Paris, and you know, it's like, oh, and she was so beautiful, and oh, you know, like you feel like he's really just, you know, talking about his life. But there's again so much life to it, just so much joy and you know. Going beyond all the mundane things. I mean, you know, the feeling that I had even as a kid getting interested in jazz music, and you know, was a little bit of the feeling, and I might not have described it this way, but the feeling was a little bit like, oh, you know what? There's a lot of things that people are doing and talking about that are kind of bullshit. And this is not. Like, this is real. This is like, you know, whatever the core of living is, this is it, you know. And that's, and I heard that in Bird, and I still do, you know. And that was my way into it, to where then maybe the more abstract Coco and all that, you know, maybe that, then I was able to hear how that all fit together, and I, you know, and you realize just the, you know, besides the joy of it, also just the sheer intellectual achievement, you know, to be able to put that all together, you know. But I mean, that's a lot of what I'm listening for in Bird too. Is like it doesn't feel overly thought out, overly analyzed, overly anything. It's just, you know, it's very, very, very intelligent, but it's not, you know, high concept, and it, you know, it just is what it is, and it's like the joy of being alive. Like, what else do you want? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a lot of why I listen to Bird. You know,
you feel better when you listen to him.
Yeah,
afterwards.
you feel
while
better.
You're listening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But
like, oh, right. This keeps everything in perspective.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Because it's not like he, you know, of all people, it's not like he was, you know, unaware of the problems of the world or shielded from the problems of the world, both self-inflicted and inflicted from outside. He was, you know, he was in it. He was in it. But it didn't, you know, somehow the core of you know, he was able to express the core of his being in this unbelievable way. You know, I mean, that's kind of what you're left with, is just, wow, what a human triumph, you know?
Yeah. The other day I heard this recording for the first time from Washington.
Oh yeah,
beginning of the 50s with the big band, and
with the big band, and he's kind of like, he may not even really have any music. He's just kind of playing along.
Exactly. So they're playing this Jerry Mulligan tune over the changes of Out of Nowhere, and it's, I think it's in G, and then there's a stop, and he plays a solo break, and then the band is in E flat.
Right. There's a key change. I vaguely remember this. Yeah, right. You can hear
the way
in
he
real
goes
time, realize.
What? Oh, all right. Okay, flat. Here we go. And then,
right.
Beautiful. But like the way he treats it, like it's like some kung fu, kung fu reflexes.
Because it's kind of a rare document that we would have of, you know, a moment like that, where it wasn't like he made it for a recording and they had a chance to really talk about it ahead of time. it seems like, I mean, there's that sound that he's realizing it in real time, which I would actually go back and listen to that moment. I remember that made an impression on me as well, but I didn't remember exactly what the thing was.
It's a lot of feelings. Like, it's hilarious, it's amazing, and it's outrageous and like super interesting. And I showed it to my students because we talked about how when we mess up, it feels like the worst possible thing that we could do in this moment. But then when we listen to somebody like Charlie Parker, we're so much more generous to them. Like, he went into the different key, whatever, and then he's back in full force. Like, but we're not as nice to ourselves when something like that happens, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe it'd be easier to be nice to yourself if after you recover, you sound like Charlie Parker.
That's true.
No. Yeah. But that's absolutely right. Is that there's a, you know, like there's a you can absolutely take it too seriously. Not in a certain way, because it is serious. I mean, music is, you know, it's like it's all these real things. But on the other hand, like, like that kind of thing isn't important. It's the way you react.
Yeah.
You know, if he had like thrown down his horn and stormed off, that would have been a whole other thing. He didn't do that at all. He's like, "Oh, okay, we're here. All right." You know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's kind of like the Herbie-ish thing, where I feel like he doesn't know where he's going. He's just and he's just not you know, so worried about playing anything right that he'll okay, let's see if I can go on this limb and come back. Maybe not, you know, but something will have happened, you know.
Yeah,
because it's also, I mean, you know, that's the big thing about jazz music, right? It's like it's supposed to be improvised, like we're supposed to be reacting to things, like
spontaneous.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so compelling to see that done well, you know, to see that done not with the spirit of, like, you know, being afraid of anything. You know, it's like, you know, maybe it's a mirror again into, like, you know, maybe this is the way to live, right? You know, it's like, things are going to happen. You think you're in G and all of a sudden everybody else is in E flat, and that's just what happens sometimes. And so how are you going to react? What are you going to do? Are you going to let it, you know, throw you completely off the track, or are you going to, you know, find something else to do with it? I mean, that's you know, something that this music can help us with, because those events happen to all of us, no matter what we do. In music and otherwise, you know.